How do you enforce boundaries that are difficult to enforce? So there's two skills that you need to be able to handle those kind of people that don't want to respect the boundaries that you set. Number one skill is you need to learn how to handle hooks. And what I mean by hooks is if you set out a boundary with, let's say, your family, and they want to hook you in so you go back to the old boundary. What are the kind of hooks that they will use to catch you like a fish and pull you back to the old boundary? So I want you to imagine a big toolbox. And in that toolbox, they've got 20 different lures that will work on different kinds of fish or on the same fish at different times of the day or different times of the year. Those are the hooks in their toolbox that they can use to catch fish and reel them in. So number one hook, and probably the most powerful, common one used, is guilt. So let's say you set a boundary with your mom or your mom and dad or your partner, and they say, after all we've done for you, this is how you're going to treat us. And you immediately go, oh yeah, I'm not being a very good son. I'm being very disrespectful, and you just cave. Or they say, you realize how much you put us through when you were in the problem? And now you're going to push us out of your life? What kind of gratitude is that? Don't you appreciate the many sacrifices we made for you? And you just really go to guilt again and you cave. Or your dad says, you know what? You're really going to hurt your mom if you stick to this boundary. I don't even think your mom's going to be able to sleep very well if you do this. In fact, she hasn't slept well for 2 nights now, and it's all your fault. And you cave. Or your parents say, I thought you loved us. This isn't love. This is cruel. And you cave. So why does that boundary work? Do you realize, or that hook work? Do you realize that that hook would not work on a person who had no guilt and shame? They could try all those tricks, but that lure doesn't catch a fish that doesn't have any guilt or shame. It works because they play on the amount of shame you have in your life where you don't think you're very good, and the amount of guilt for all the stuff that you've done and put them through. So it only works because you haven't healed your stuff. So hooks don't work on people who are healthy, only on people who have the issues that connect to that fish lure. Another thing that they can do is to attempt to induce guilt by getting you to feel sorry for them. Your mom might say, I can't even eat these days. I'm just so worried about you and so troubled by what you're doing in our relationship. And I can't sleep and I worry all the time. And then you feel guilty. Or they might use a false accusation to create guilt. They might say, you think you're better than us now? You don't need us? Wow, you got a big ego. And they play on that. Or they say, you don't value your family, do you? We're just nothing to you. And that is a false accusation. All you think about is yourself. And they make you feel like you're a selfish, self-centered person. Those are all distortions. And they're playing on things that will create guilt by distorting stuff for you. Or they might use false, flawed logic to create guilt. They might take you back to something you've heard 1,000 times growing up. Families stay together no matter what. We always have each other's back. That's what families do, and you're breaking that. Shame on you for not valuing your family. Or you might have heard, you don't need people out there. All you need is family. So now when you're setting a boundary with family, they go, you don't need those people. You just need us. We'll help you in your recovery. That's all you need. And it seems to make sense, but it again is very distorted. So part of setting and enforcing boundaries and not responding to these hooks is you have to think through all the different games that they play to see if they're saying truth or if they're distorting truth and actually presenting a lie. And what you will find in all of these hooks is there's a lot of distortions and a lot of lies, but they feel like the truth because you've heard them all of your life. The next thing that they can do is they can manipulate you through crying, through lots of tears. So mom just starts bawling and you just feel terrible because mom's crying so much. Now here's what I want you to understand. So let's say mom and dad, they tried guilt. That doesn't seem to work on you today. And they go, no problem. Let's go to the next lure in our toolbox. Oh, tears and crying. Okay, let's try that. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, no problem. Let's go to our third lure in our toolbox. Let's get angry. And let's get in their face. And let's really tear a strip out of them. And let's threaten them. And let's even be disrespectful and say they're useless. They've always been a problem child. They've never appreciated anything. Let's intimidate them into giving in. And that works because most kids out of complex trauma are afraid of angry people. And so if somebody's getting angry, they just say, okay, I'll do what you want. Just don't get angry. And if they start threatening to not babysit anymore and not to give you any money or help you out anymore, then you get drawn in to going back to their boundary. But let's say you resist it. Then they go to the next tools in their toolbox. So the next one would be, let's just nag them a little bit. Let's ask them once a day if we can come over for a visit. And let's just wear them down so they finally just say, come over. I'm just tired of you nagging. Then they've won. Or they might triangulate. And that is, let's say you set a boundary with mom and dad, and all of a sudden you get a phone call tomorrow from your sister or your aunt saying, I heard about what you've done with mom and dad. How dare you? You're really a screw up. You're treating them so terribly. So now what they've done is they've brought other people in to put pressure on you. And if that doesn't work, they recruit even more people. And so now you got cousins and aunts and uncles calling you to say, what are you doing to your parents? What are you doing to this family? And that is a huge thing that many families do. But if that doesn't work, they go, still, no problem. We still got more lures in our toolbox. Let's bring out the next one. We'll start doing some manipulation games. We'll just give you the silent treatment. So we're not even going to talk to you. We're going to withhold our love. We're going to withhold money. We're going to withhold support. Or if there's a social gathering, we're just going to pout every time we're around you. We're not going to give you a hug when you try to get a hug. We're going to punish you. And you're going to get so desperate to have us validate you and have us talk nicely to you again that you're going to say, okay, sorry, I'll do what you want. Please just be nice to me again. Okay? What happens if that doesn't work? Some families go to love bombing. And love bombing is all of a sudden you get a gift in the mail, something that you were desperately wanting but couldn't afford. And it's from mom and dad. Or you get mom and dad saying, you know what? You guys go out. We're going to treat you to the nicest restaurant in town and a movie, and we'll take care of the kids. Just have a wonderful time. What are they doing? They're getting you to the point where you go, how can I set a cruel boundary with people that are so nice to me? So they come at it from the other direction. If that doesn't work, now you can see that you're starting to get tired of all of these different manipulation tactics. But they still got a few to go. So if that doesn't work, they can create a crisis. So dad can phone you and say, you got to come over. Mom's just beside herself, and I don't know what to do with her. You're the only one that can help her. Please come over. And you rush over to help mom out, and you get drawn back in because they created a crisis. And all kinds of things can do that. Now, I want to stop and say this. You realize that your kids can do all these things as well? Your kids can play on your guilt. Your kids can pout. Your kids can try to punish you. Your kids can play all kinds of games, love bomb you, create crisis. And those you have to be aware of as a parent, because if you're not, you get drawn into their games and your kids end up with unhealthy boundaries. Okay, back to the list. One thing that can happen, especially when you get into a relationship with somebody, is they study you to find out your weaknesses. But more than that, they study you to find out what were the needs or longings in you that were never met as a child, but that you have a deep desire still, that you still want those needs and longings met. So let's say they've studied you and they find out you have this deep longing for validation. So what do every time you put a boundary up with them? They validate you. They say, you're so good at what you do. And they get you to the point where you think, wow, I like this person is so great. And you give in to what they want. So they study you in order to figure out how to manipulate you. Another common trick, let's say that you break up with somebody, or let's say you say to mom and dad, can only see you once a week. They might come back and propose a compromise. So let's say you break up with somebody who's abusive or toxic, and they say, can't we at least be friends? Maybe we could go out for coffee once a week, or would it be still okay if I texted you regularly? And you say, sure, yeah, we'll go for coffee once a week. Or you can text me a couple times a day, and guess what the person is thinking? Great, it's still on. I can reel them back in because they accepted the compromise. They're not going with what their boundary was, and I can manipulate them back to the other boundary. All common tools. Now there's one other tool, and it's not one that's done in the instant moment. It's one that is carried out over a long period of time. And it's a person who, when you get in a relationship with them, they have to be superior, but what they want to do is wear you down so your self-worth or your self-esteem gets lower and lower and lower, because as it gets lower, you feel worse about yourself, you don't trust your own thinking, you don't trust your own perception of things, so you give that person more and more power to think for you, to feel for you, to tell you reality. They make you a zero, and they are 100% in control of everything of you. When that happens, then they can manipulate you out of any boundary that you try to set. And the more they do that, the less backbone you have when it comes to sticking to or enforcing a boundary. You don't have the courage or the strength to fight for yourself, to stand up for yourself, to set and enforce a boundary. So the first skill with people who don't respect your boundaries is learn to manage the hooks. Don't get drawn into their hook, because that will change your boundary back to the old one.